Good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us, both if you're here in person or if you're joining us online. This is the first time that we've done an informational meeting for course selection for parents. Mr. Waltz and myself will be going through some information here that we oftentimes get questions about from parents around this time of year. So we thought we'd try this format and try and share some of that information for you. The meeting notes from this presentation is available online, and it will be afterwards if you want to go back and refer to something that we've talked about. The video of this presentation will also stay online on our YouTube page for a while. So my name is Mr. Shanik. My work that I do here at KML in this capacity is as a registrar. And I'm going to first go through the course selection timeline for you. So this started on Monday, November 16th. It'll go through Friday, December 18th. During that time, students and parents will get a chance to review the scheduling materials. So if you are a parent of a sophomore or junior, you would have received an email from me earlier today with some materials that are specific for your student. If you are a parent of a freshman, that information will be coming out to you and your child at the beginning of December. During this time frame for sophomores and juniors, we have the opportunity for them to schedule an individual course selection meeting with someone in the Student Services Office, which would be myself or Mr. Zemer or Mr. Waltz. And during that time frame, then we ask the sophomores and juniors to submit their course requests. Freshmen will be working in their computer applications class at the beginning of December to go through this process. So they'll get individual guidance and help from either Mr. Albrecht or Mrs. Brookshire, depending on who they have as their teacher. Mr. Albrecht and Mr. Brookshire will be collecting their information and saving their course requests for them. Once we get to January and into May, you can still submit changes to what your student would like to take for next year, but we do encourage you to get those things finalized as soon as you can. I'll mention that again later. In June, course schedules will get sent out to students. So that's kind of the timeline for all this course selection. Minimum graduation requirements, we have these posted in lots of different places. The only piece on here that I want to make reference to is the electives piece at the bottom. This causes confusion for people occasionally because electives, in the sense of the 3.5 credits that are listed here, can be anything. So, for example, in the English department, there are more than 4 credits worth of English classes that a student could take. If a student takes an extra half credit or an extra full credit in English, that extra over the minimum would count towards that electives total. It does not have to be a course that we normally think of as an elective, like a language course or a tech ed course. We do require a minimum course load of 7 classes per semester for students. In terms of credits, that would be a 7 credit load. Students can certainly have more than that. 8 credits is what they can get in person. On occasion, we have had some students who have gone over that by doing some online stuff, but that is a very rare thing to happen. Scheduling priority. If there are conflicts during the scheduling process, required courses will always be given priority. I mention that especially for juniors and seniors, or students who will be juniors and seniors, if they're looking at taking an elective course that we don't have very many students in, it's possible that they may get bumped out of that class due to their schedule. And so they may want to think about what are some alternatives as they work on selecting courses. There are course selection resources online. All the stuff having to do with course requests is at kmlhs.org/courses. And the 2 main pieces of information that you'd be looking for there are, first of all, the course selection guide, which is about a 50-page document that lists out all of the courses that we have available and all the information about those courses. There's also a 1-page guide, the KML 4-year course planning guide, which is a spreadsheet grid that shows all the courses that we have available and which years they're offered, and which courses are required. So that's a pretty helpful, handy tool for students and parents who are looking to plan something out for the entire 4 years that they're here. There are a couple of other things in there, the career cluster course recommendations and the prerequisite exception request form. The career cluster piece would be a resource that you could use if you're trying to figure out what courses you might want to take based on career interests that you have. So prerequisites, again, if you refer back to the course selection guide, this is an example of what one entry in there looks like. So this is for the Honors Anatomy and Physiology class. A prerequisite for that class can be, for any class, can be very simple. It can be that they've had the previous class or that they have to be a certain grade. Or they can be very complex. This is a complex example. So in order to get into anatomy and physiology, you have to have certain grades in 2 other different courses. So if you run across those prerequisites and you have any questions about them, certainly do ask us. They're all listed in the course scheduling guide. Those prerequisites are really intended to help students succeed by keeping students who would likely struggle out of certain courses. We do go through at the end of the semester and at the end of the year and make sure that everybody does meet those course prerequisites. If they don't, I will be in touch with them to try and get a change made in their schedule. For some students who don't meet those prerequisites, but they do have a passion around whatever the subject matter is, we do give them the option that they can ask for a waiver, in which case I will go and talk with the teacher of that class. The student will have to submit some paperwork and we'll discuss whether or not we would allow them into that class even though they don't meet that. So one of the documents that you have received already if you're a sophomore or junior parent, and that you will be getting in the future if you're a freshman parent, is this personalized course selection guide. It's a 5-page document that lists all of the courses that your student has taken in the past, the courses that they are taking right now, and the courses that they're scheduled to take in the coming semester, and lists the grades and credits associated with them according to department area. So this is an example of the Word of God scheduling notes for someone who would be a sophomore, who would be a junior. And then down at the bottom where the arrow is, it gives some instruction as to what you need to select for the next year. So this one's a really easy one. If you've been in Word of God 9, 10, and 11, the course that you have to choose is Word of God 12. Here's an example of one where there's lots of variety. So there's math scheduling notes, and here it gives information down there about how many credits are required, etc. And the last line of that gives a recommendation from the math department about specifically which course the student's encouraged to take the next year. Again, if you run into any of those that you have a question about, feel free to reach out to us and we'll be happy to answer some questions there. Senior English options is a question that I often get because it's a little bit confusing to understand. In 9th grade you take English 9, in 10th grade you take English 10, in 11th grade you take English 11. There aren't really any choices, but when you get to be a senior, you suddenly have a lot of different choices for English. One option for English for seniors is to take 1 semester of a literature course and 1 semester of a rhetoric course. A rhetoric course, in our parlance, is a course where they're producing material. So the literature course options that are available are world literature. That's a course that's taught here on campus. There's a science fiction fantasy literature option, which is an online course. It's a high school level course. And then there are several online dual credit literature courses that we have available through some of the partner colleges and universities that we work with. Rhetoric course options on campus are speech and creative writing, and then again there are some online dual credit rhetoric course options. Another option, other than that pair of a literature and a rhetoric course, is to take AP English Literature and Composition. That's a full year course that fulfills the senior English requirement. And then finally, there is also a course called Literacy for Life, which is typically a course that students who are not college bound will take. That's a course that if your student works regularly with Mrs. Krause in the Learning Center, she will probably approach you about your student taking that course the next year. Seniors also have a requirement that they take U.S. government, and again, here are two different paths for them to get that credit. They can take the in-person United States government course here on Kettle's campus, or we have 3 different partner colleges and universities that offer an online dual credit version of U.S. government. Juniors, for them, a staple course is U.S. history, and again, there are 2 main options here. They can take what we've started calling regular U.S. history, or they can take a pair of 1-semester courses that are DC AP United States History 1, which is a half credit, and DC AP United States History 2. The reason that that course is split into 2 parts is that we have partnered with Bethany Lutheran College to be able to offer dual credit for those courses. And when we match that up with the college actually offers credit in one course for the first semester and offers credit for a different course in the second semester. So that's why it's listed as 2 different things. If you take one, you have to take the other one in order to get your U.S. history requirement as a junior, but they are 2 different courses. The DC there is dual credit, AP is advanced placement. So I've mentioned a couple times dual credit courses. Kettle works with a variety of different institutions for dual credit. We have both on-campus dual credit courses in the area of statistics, Calculus 1, Calculus 2, and Calculus 3. Those we partner up with UW-Oshkosh through their CAP program. And then the course I just mentioned, dual credit United States History 1 and 2 through Bethany Lutheran College. In addition to those, we have options that students can take online dual credit courses, and those are through several different partner colleges and universities, including Bethany, Concordia, Grand Canyon, and Martin Luther College. In the course selection guide, the big 50-page long document, you will see sections like this for each of those partner colleges that lists the courses that they have available. I'm showing this to you to give you a sample of pieces of information you might want to look for as you're looking through those lists if your child's interested in taking those courses. The first one over on this side is to notice that there are a few courses in this list that require a prerequisite. So for example, this is from Grand Canyon University. If you'd want to take computer programming 2, a requirement is that you first take computer programming 1, CST 105. Another thing you want to be aware of is which department these courses are in. So these are the KML departments that we've aligned with these courses. Most colleges have a larger variety of departments than Kettle does, so we've matched them up with where we are issuing credit. The third part is the information about whether that credit counts towards department-specific graduation requirements. So for example, up at the top, fundamentals accounting, it is in the computer business department. It does not count towards graduation requirements because in that department, the only requirement is the basic keyboarding class that the kids take as freshmen. So this would not work to fulfill that requirement because those students have already fulfilled that requirement. High school credits, almost everything that we offer is a half credit. Those would be any college level courses that are 3, 4, or 5 credits. We do have one course that we currently work with a school with that's a 1 college credit class, and we offer a quarter of a credit for that. And then finally over on the side there are some notes, and this is probably the biggest piece here, is that if you're a student, you're looking for a senior looking for a rhetoric option for your English requirement and you want to do something dual credit, this notes section will point out for you which courses match up with that. Some course changes for next school year. So if you've been around Kettle for a while and are used to the courses that we offer, these are some changes for next year. We've offered Art 3 in the past as an independent study course, and we've allowed students to take that course multiple times doing different art projects. We're making a change and we're adding a third semester of a curricular course, so everybody is going to go through a curriculum. It'll be a more regular classroom experience like Art 1 and 2 are. That's going to be the new Art 3, and we're moving the independent study option to be Art 4. So what used to be Art 3 will now be called Art 4, and there's another art class inserted in between there. Another one that we've had available for a while is AP Psychology. We've partnered online for that course. It seems like there's a growing interest in that course, so this is one that if we get enough interest in this course, we may offer it here on campus next year. For anybody who's a freshman, a new course next year is Honors Biology. So if you have a student currently in physical science and they're getting an A in that course, Honors Biology would be an option for their science class as a sophomore next year. Music Theory is a course that's being offered this year. It's one of a couple of classes that we have that are alternate year courses, so we typically only offer them every other year because there's not lots of interest in them. It won't be offered next year. Music Technology is another course that kind of fits in that boat. We did not offer it this year. We are planning on offering it next year. Course request changes. There's no charge. We used to have some fees associated with this, but there is no longer a charge to change any of your course requests or change your course schedule. But the later in the year that you go asking for a change decreases the chances that we'll actually be able to get that scheduled. So once all the course selections come in, we start working on building a schedule for the next year. The later you are in the process of getting those requests in, the more difficult it becomes to get you into those courses. Students can change their courses though. They can do that through the 4th day of the semester. I'm going to now hand over the presentation to Mr. Waltz, who serves as our guidance director. He works more in the area of college and career stuff, so he's going to talk through some stuff that is going to help your students post-high school.
Welcome. Nice to see everyone here. There are a lot of things that complicate seemingly simple things. I am going to try and simplify things and keep them simple. If you have questions on anything, obviously, one of the last slides gives our information, and feel free to get a hold of either one of us. I'm going to talk first about advanced placement courses. We refer to them as AP classes. On my slide, I have some things about them. They're college classes that students can take while they're in high school. Oftentimes, colleges with high admission standards that don't allow a lot of students in will base a lot of the admissions on how many AP classes students have taken. Also, we have a couple scholarships offered to our KML students that are looking for academic high flyers, and some of the criteria for that is how many AP classes kids have taken. AP classes are college classes, and they differ from dual credit in that at the end of the at the end of the year, the students will sign up to take an extensive test, an exam, a cumulative exam from the year. Typically the exams last about 3.5 hours, and they take them during a school day. Because it's a standardized test, students all over the country will be taking them at certain times. And so the students sign up, order an exam, and then in the spring of the year, usually in May, they take these AP exams. If they score a 3, a 4, or a 5, they are then allowed to have college credit at any of the UW system schools. I say any of the UW system schools because the UW system schools have a requirement that if you get a 3 on an exam, they have to accept college credit for that. There are some private schools in Wisconsin that do not accept 3s. They have you get a 4 or a 5 to give you college credit. So those tests that they take in May are high stakes. That determines if they're going to get college credit or not. I do have a couple of links in here. I'm going to apologize in advance if this goes sideways and I'm not successful with these links. But Mr. Schoening is here to help me. One of the links takes you to the advanced placement screen. This is a way that students and parents can see what AP credits are worth and what the testing policies of schools are in general. It has a list of different AP tests. I am looking at the chemistry one. And so then it gives a list of colleges, and right now we have an alphabetized list of every college in the country. And I'm going to go to Wisconsin. And now we have all of the schools in Wisconsin. And now we can click on any of them. And I'll use, for example, Wisconsin-Madison. And Wisconsin-Madison puts on the AP site some of the AP results they look for. And so chemistry, you can see, is listed twice. Chemistry, if you get a score of 3, will count as 3 credits. As you go across here, you see that there is no equivalent course for that. And since Madison has to take a 3 and give you credit for it, they will give you 3 credits, but it does not count as a chemistry course. They just give you elective credits for that. If you score a 4, and I believe this means a 4 or a 5, they will give you 3 credits, and they will apply that as if you took Chemistry 103 at Madison. The beauty of the AP is that students are able to pass out of college classes and then are granted those credits. Okay? All right, now, a dream scenario. And I say this with caution because this is a bright, shining example of how AP can be successful. We had a student 2 years ago who took a bunch of AP exams, and he was a really good test taker, and he was a really good test taker in math and science. He ended up being able to transfer in as a freshman about 30 credits to the University of Purdue. He was going to study engineering at Purdue, and so Purdue granted him over 30 credits of college as he walked in the door. Now, as a parent, that's great because you can technically knock off a year of college, which is expensive. I'm telling you, that's a dream scenario and is very rare. But it is possible because of the AP exams. If you look through this listing, this website that I'm showing you, and you look long enough, you will see that, and this is an example of Calculus BC. My cursor is on that here. If you take the Calculus BC class for the University of Wisconsin-Madison, again, and you get a 3, they have to give you credits. But they aren't going to give you credits for any specific math classes. Whereas if you score a 4 or a 5, you are going to pass out of 2 math classes at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And because you pass out of those 2 classes, you get a total of 9 credits. Different schools value the AP differently, and they will have different levels that they want you to achieve and assign you different credits. Within the UW system schools, you could find a huge variation. Some schools will offer up to 11 credits in calculus if you score a 4 or 5. Some only offer 4 credits. It depends on what schools your children want to go to. So there is a possibility that if your child scores well on AP scores, you may actually want to go to the individual college websites and find out how many credits they will get because of their AP scores. Some colleges are more stingy. Some are more generous. Some will help you take time off of school. Some will make it more difficult. And it just depends on the university or school. The other website I put in here, the link, is for specific UW system schools. The first one I showed you is a national search for all AP schools, and it includes schools around the nation. This one is more specific for AP classes with the UW system, and you can type in the campus that you would like to search. I've spent enough time on this, I'll just show you how you would click and you can compare. Other schools, it's probably easiest just to go to their website and see how their AP credits work out. Okay. Again, if you have more questions on that AP portion, feel free to look at these links. I don't want to dwell too long on it. The last point I have on here, AP is often viewed as the gold standard by many of the prestigious schools. We're going to talk about dual credit. Advanced placement is seen as a little higher standard because of their more regulated curriculum, and then the fact that you have to pass a standardized test. Dual credit classes are classes that you get credit in high school and then credit in college. You do not have to pass an exam for that. I have in the last point up here, these dual credits will transfer to most schools. In my time dealing with this, I found that the Air Force Academy will not take dual credits. That's one that I've seen. Many of the more prestigious schools will not take as many dual credits, because dual credits are basically transfer credits that in high school you build up these college credits and then you transfer them into the school that you're going to go to. Some schools limit the amount of transfer credits you can bring in. The other thing that you have to keep an eye on with dual credit is how they will transfer in. An anecdotal example. If your child would take certain math classes and then go to MSOE to study engineering, MSOE may say, great, you get those college credits, but we still want you to take our calculus. Because it's an engineering school, they have certain designs on what they want their calculus to be. Dual credit allows the kids to choose from a number of different colleges, and MSOE can't control the curriculum there. And so they're not exactly sure the type of calculus they've been taught. And so MSOE will say you can have the credits, but you still take our course. Josh mentioned that Bethany Concordia, UW-Oshkosh, GCU, and MLC offer dual credits. You will want to check with the schools that your children are looking at attending to see how they will accept dual credit. Another example is we offer the American History dual credit. It's also an AP class. Martin Luther College will accept dual credit history, American history, from our students. And then when they go to MLC, they won't have to take that history class. But the only credits they accept are the second semester of that dual credit class. So if your child takes American history for a full year and wants dual credit in both semesters, it's fine. They will end up with, I think, 6 college credits. Most schools and universities will only transfer in 3 credits of history because really, for most programs, that's all those colleges require. They may take them as other credits, but because MLC's curriculum is pretty structured, they will only accept the 3 credits in. So when you sign up for dual credit, you want to check with schools that your children have in mind and see if it's, I won't say it, see if it's worth it, but see if it's really efficient. Dual credits are great because they're taking college classes. For college admissions, colleges love to see that students can handle college academics, even though they were in high school. It looks good for their success later. And it looks good for the colleges because they know they have good students coming in. SAT and ACT, this is an ever-changing thing. The senior class last year was not required to submit scores. This senior class is not required to submit scores. The junior class right now is not going to be required to submit ACT scores. So one of the 3, what used to be 3 important things were GPA, academic rigor, and ACT or SAT. Right now, it's the Wild West. You do not have to submit your ACT scores. When I'm meeting with the juniors and seniors right now, I'm encouraging them, if they achieved a decent score on the ACT, a decent score for most schools in Wisconsin is a 22. That will get you into the majority of schools in Wisconsin. If they have a 22, I'm encouraging them to submit that, because that's the easiest way for colleges to say, okay, this kid can handle academics in college. It's the most eloquent way. It's not the only way. And that's what colleges are developing now. If they don't require scores, how are they going to figure out if this child can succeed in college? What we're finding is they're relying on essays, and they're also relying on the classes that the students took in high school, especially the ones that show academic rigor and prove that they can succeed at that next academic level. So we give the ACT to all of our juniors during the school day in March. This year it's March. Every student in the state of Wisconsin, for the most part, junior, is taking the ACT on that day. We take the ACT really because we're a Midwest school, and the ACT is kind of a Midwest standard. If you live on the coasts, either west or east, a lot of those schools use the SAT. I've only found one school on the East Coast that preferred the student take the SAT when they were looking for acceptance. Most schools will say ACT or SAT is transferable. Either one is good. We are saying that the ACT will find its footing again when COVID disappears, because the students will have a chance again to test. ACT, students can take the ACT 12 times. SAT, I think, is similar to that. Because of COVID, they feel students haven't had adequate opportunity to take the tests, so they're just saying, okay, don't worry about it. Again, they're going to look at the academic rigor in high school, the grades in high school, and then they're also probably going to rely on essays that the students write. All right. I did put in here another link for the UW system, and the reason I'm biased towards the UW system is because it's a lot of schools in one website, and it's kind of the easiest way to use as a touch point. With the private schools, you can go to their websites individually, and that's probably the easiest. Out-of-state schools, I don't deal a lot with them, but they are similar. Okay. One of the questions that I have and have not had adequately answered, in the past, ACT, SAT scores have been used to assign merit scholarships. Merit scholarships are the scholarships that kids earn with their high scores and high grades. Most of the schools are still using those test scores to distribute merit scholarships. Some are finding other ways to figure out who the top students are and who gets the most money. So again, our stance is kind of take the ACT, take it again. I encourage our students to take the ACT about 3 times. We have other kids who take it 8 times. The majority of our kids take it twice. Once is free their junior year, we pay for that. And then the others, they sign up on their own and take care of it that way. Shifting gears. This year's sophomores and juniors have the opportunity to join the Wisconsin Youth Apprenticeship Program. I have up there some of the areas that are available for application to the Youth Apprenticeship Program. It's quite a list. When the Wisconsin Youth Apprenticeship Program started, I thought it was going to help our kids who were looking into work and the trades. That is true, but you can see there's quite a variety of different areas that are involved in youth apprenticeship. Basically, our youth apprenticeship kids have the opportunity to go apprentice, work in one of those areas where they can find a job. Now I say where they can find a job. There are applications, and they have to apply, and then they have to earn that spot. Some of our kids did not get jobs this year. Part of it is because of COVID. We're hoping to expand that so kids who want to participate. Most of our kids who are in that Wisconsin Youth Apprenticeship Program schedule 7th and 8th hour off, and they leave school to work. They get paid by the employer, they get evaluated by the employer, they get graded by the employer, and then we assign them high school credits for that. They have to take certain high school classes that will lend themselves to enriching their experience in that internship. I have some information there because virtual meetings are coming up, and you can attend those meetings, and that will give you more information. I also included the website for more information at the bottom right-hand side. My last slide, sorry to take so long, it deals with academic rigor, and we've talked about this a little bit. It used to be that ACT, GPA, and class rank, and academic rigor were kind of the 3 important things in getting into college. The ACT, SAT has gone through a little bit of a transition here. We're unsure. Academic rigor is one of those important things. Academic rigor means you're taking hard classes, and especially high-level schools like to see that. That's where AP, dual credit play a role. The other ones I listed in there include our high-level classes in math and science, English, and then I put in bold foreign language because a lot of people ask me about foreign language because that has been a change in the past 10 years. It used to be that everyone said you need 2 years of a foreign language to get into schools. There's one UW school who has a language requirement, a foreign language requirement, and that's the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And they say they want 3 to 4 years of a single language. They say they want that. Then they say in the requirements you have to have 3 years. They would like 3 to 4. Before AP and dual credit became in vogue, higher level foreign language classes were a good way for colleges to evaluate who could memorize and who could learn. And that, they thought, prepared kids for school. I think it still does. If you can handle a high-level English, a high-level foreign language, it shows that you know how to learn. That's why I sometimes encourage kids to stay with foreign language, because it shows academic rigor. Not as many kids take multiple years of language because we have other classes that do show academic rigor. Calculus, physics, chemistry, biology, most of our kids take that. Those are good classes that show academic rigor. German 4, Spanish 4, Spanish 5, German 5 are good ways to show academic rigor also. And then I have the list of other things. Student essays make a difference in application for colleges, extra activities in a focused area. I put extra activities in an area of focus because if your child wants to go to, again, an elite university, I'll call it, one that has a small admissions rate, they need to hit all of these, and one of the things is that extra activity in an area of interest. If your child is interested in chemistry and they want to go to an elite school, they need to show extra interest in chemistry. If they're interested in business and they want to go to an elite school for business, they need to show extra initiative in that. With business, if they start their own business, that's really good. If they're an entrepreneur and they've made $200,000, super. Tell the college about it, and that's what sets them apart. If they like chemistry and they run a chemistry camp for kids in the neighborhood, or if they go to chemistry camps that let them develop their skills in that, summer programs and things like that, that makes a difference. They are expensive, and some of that is the eliteness of that group. Okay? Also, community service and volunteer stuff does make a difference. All right? Again, sorry to babble on. These are some questions we get, and I sit down with the kids and explain it. But anyone who listens to someone speak loses most of it. That's why it's great to have this as a resource. Our contact information is here. Please use it if you have any questions, especially around course selection. The last thing I'm going to say is, I think a lot of times you worry that your kids are going to screw something up and not take the right classes. That won't happen. There's plenty of opportunity, and there's many paths to get to different schools. There's one path to get to heaven, but to get to college, we got about 65,000. Okay? And so, worry not. We'll help you out. Just reach out to us. Anything else? Thanks for coming. Appreciate you being here. If you want to stick around and ask questions, we'd love to talk. If you're online, you can shout loudly and we'll see if we can hear. All right, thanks.